Hey, everybody, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. And this is a very special episode. It should be a very fun episode. We're doing another top 10 song list. And this time around, we're doing ZZ Top, that little old band from Texas. And I have enlisted the services of someone who's been on the show before. You know him as one of the Bo-hosts from the Bogus Otis Show. 9 Degrees of Sammy Hagar podcast, most excellent podcast for all things Hagar and all things Van Halen. Great supporters of my Hagar book, Red on Black. So I've got Darin here with me today. Hello, sir.
That's my Billy Gibbons howl, right? Tim,
Yeah,
I'm representing me and Brent. Brent couldn't make it, unfortunately, today, but I'm here representing both of us. And thanks for having me back, man. I love the books you put out. Enjoyed being your guest last time, and big fan of your show too. So thank you for having
awesome.
me.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I recommend your cast to everybody that said, yeah, I like Sammy Hagar. Well, have you heard the Bogus Otis cast? You need to. Uh,
Thank
so
you.
um,
Thanks, man.
so
Thanks.
what we're doing on this episode, and I've come to find out after having many conversations with Darin that as much as he is a fan of Sammy Hagar and Van Halen and all things in that camp, he's an even bigger fan of ZZ Top, which is great because that's what I'm looking for. This is a top 10 ZZ Top songs episode. So, whereas I had a hard time with this, my understanding is that Darin had an absolute struggle. So, I mean, he kept
I had to check
messaging
into
me.
therapy. I
Yeah.
had to check into
He,
some therapy, man. It was hard.
yeah, he kept messaging, dude, does it have to be 10? We have to limit it. I'm like, yeah, we got to keep it to 10. Some honorable mentions. He's like, oh, this is hard. So that's great because to me, that's a sign of a great band when they don't just come to your head and you really got to work to narrow it down. And it's great that you got Brent's list too. It's too bad he couldn't be here
Yeah.
with us. But I thought at the beginning what we would do is talk about really how I mean, it's hard to imagine a world without ZZ Top, but at some point there was a time when I never heard of them, and being my age, I never heard tell of them until the Eliminator era. That's when videos were new, and I mean, obviously they came upon the world at large then, even though they'd been around for over 10 years. I
Yeah.
didn't actually start buying their albums, I want to say, until probably around like turn of the century, like 99
Wow.
2000. Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, I
Okay, cool.
always liked hearing them on the radio. I just never had any of their albums. I think that it was one of the many times I joined Columbia House, and I want to emphasize that every time I joined Columbia House, I always fulfilled my obligation. It wasn't, get the introductory offer and change your name. But I needed another disc and I got their greatest hits. I'm like, oh, what the heck? I'll get this. And I listened to it. I'm like, you know what? I should explore these guys further. The next thing, or one of the next things I got from them was I know people don't like this too much, but it was the much maligned six pack because I never really heard much of anything of their early stuff besides LaGrange and Tush. So, and that really introduced me to some fantastic music. So that's my kind of ZZ Top entry point. Let's hear yours.
Okay, well, first of all, I gotta ask you, the greatest hits that you got was the one that did it come out in 92?
It's the 92 one.
Okay. And as big as a fan as I am, I only recently found this out. Did you realize that the light that's hanging down obscures half of the letter H? So it says greatest hits.
Oh,
And
why
that's
does, yeah, that's hardly surprising.
and that's perfect for this
Yeah,
band.
yeah. Given the cover art and
Given the
everything,
cover.
yeah. Yeah, it looks like a lowercase t. That's
Yeah.
funny. No, I didn't know that. So
There you go. There
everybody,
you
he's
go.
talking about this one. A lot of people, a lot of you have it. It sold a lot of copies.
Yeah. Surprised that
I,
wasn't didn't get the sticker on it, parental explicit whatever, right?
I
Because of that
think,
cover, right?
I think that by this time, you had the gangster rap, and you had Pantera, and I
That's
think
right.
they weren't looking at
Yeah.
little old ZZ Top as
But
being
that's them,
anything
right? Kind of tongue in cheek, right? So
tongue in cheek, kind of subtle,
yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
And
We'll
and other times not so subtle.
not so subtle at all.
So my
So
entry into ZZ Top was I discovered Van Halen, got introduced by some friends into Van Halen, and of course, Eddie, being the king that he is of guitar. It's really, he's very bluesy. So
yep.
I had another friend of mine say, "Well, hey, if you like blues, why don't you check out this band called ZZ Top?" And I'd also been a fan of the Blues Brothers. And I'm a very visual person. I produce animation and content for a living, and I've always been kind of drawn to the visual iconograph. How do you say it? Iconography,
Iconography. Yeah, that's
iconography of the
yeah,
bands.
yeah,
And I was a fan of the Blues Brothers with their black hats and the shades and their
yeah.
motion. And then when I saw ZZ Top, and this is probably around, the same thing. I came to the party a little bit later, probably like late 80s, right? So
Hmm.
this is after the Eliminator phase. And so I got Eliminator first, and it just blew my mind, right? And it was, trying to learn how to play guitar at the same time, trying to match 5150s.
Yeah,
Forget it. Billy Gibbons is more accessible, right? It's blues based pentatonic, but it's tasty, and you can quickly, and a lot of the songs from the 80s Eliminator era are kind of like the perfect guitar player starter kit because they're all like to metronomes, right? That's perfect.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like the perfect guitar. So that's how I got into them. And then I just started, and then someone slid me the best of from 77. And I was like,
Right.
who's this? Because it's almost a different band, right?
It sounds, yeah, very different sounding.
Kind of paralleling Van Halen. Like there's, and again, you could classify maybe AC/DC or Genesis. This is
Yeah,
almost, there's two almost definitive eras of this band,
very
right?
much
I
so.
love
Yeah,
both more and more,
yeah.
like each of them more. So I kind of got in the middle of their 80s and then kind of worked my way back, and I've been a hardcore fan ever since, man.
Awesome. Yeah.
Still playing.
I remember one of the when you're a kid, you don't have access to information, so you just kind of try and figure things out on your own. For the longest time, and I don't really know why, it's just a dumb. I always thought, before I even knew any of their names, I always thought that Billy and Dusty were brothers.
Yeah, me too. Of
I
course,
just,
me too, right?
I know what, for no other reason than they kind of dressed the same, they looked the same, they had the beards, but yeah. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. And it's also interesting that unlike a lot of classic bands, they did not do videos pre-Eliminator. There are
That's right.
no, like a lot of old bands did, what would now be classified as videos, even if they were just soundstage lip syncing to a
That's right.
track.
That's right.
I mean, AC/DC, like they did a ton of them. A lot of
Yeah.
Australian acts did, right, to get
Yeah.
on TV around the world. Queen did a bunch of them, and even Van Halen from the first album did videos. But yeah,
100%. You're right.
ZZ Top really didn't do any videos until those Eliminator ones. So it's really
I guess the
interesting.
closest thing they ever got was the 1980 Rock Palast videos. Kind
Yes.
of the first real,
And
like,
okay, I'll get into that in a bit, but that makes me smile every time I watch it.
it's awesome, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
the boo.
So good. Yeah, they're great. It's
Yeah.
great.
So, we've got I allowed five honorable mentions. So what we're going to do now is Darin is going to read Brent's honorables. He's going to read his own honorables. Then I'll give you mine, and then we'll start counting down. So
Okay.
let's take it away with the Bo-host Brent and his honorable mentions.
All right. In honor of my brother Brent, Bo-host of Sammy Hagar podcast. So again, he and I had a hard time doing this. So he could not narrow it down to five. He just said, I got my 10, and then anything 85 that make up from either Eliminator or La Futura throw on the
Okay.
list. So anything
Yeah.
from those two specific albums, right? So those are
Yeah.
his kind of top five. And a couple of his from those two albums do appear on his top 10, but he said for the honorables, anything from Eliminator, anything from La Futura.
Okay.
All right, myself. And again, man. So, I mean, in my opinion, we could have various versions of this episode. There could be a slow blues version of the top
Right.
10. There could be what are the best jams top 10.
Yeah.
There,
What are the
there could
best singles? Yeah.
singles. There could be
Yeah.
what the best of the 70s era,
Yeah.
best of the 80s, right? And I guess kind of almost the 90s onwards. There's almost kind of a third era where they kind of would strip back to the
Very
70s,
much
but
so.
heavy, but very heavy.
Very heavy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm all over the place. Okay, I encompass it all. Okay, so my runners up are uh Gun Love. Okay, so that's off greatest hits.
Yeah. Lesser known. Yeah. Lesser known of the
Yeah.
two new songs from the
Bonus
Greatest Hits
track.
album. Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of ZZ Top doesn't have a lot of piano in their songs, and they have some very usually the backup vocals are Dusty and Billy, But in this tune, they have some additional backup vocals, which I think kind of fill out the sound even more. And it's a ripping track, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of, sandwiched in between all those other greatest hits. It kind of gets not, it got overlooked at that time, right? So that's number five. Number four, just got back from babies. Solid blues, great song to kind of jam to if you're a guitar player. So many licks. All of Billy's licks are pretty much in that song. Number three, Snappy Khaki, a hidden gem on Teja, 1976. Great jam at the end. I love how, and again, ZZ Top, to me, their magic is when Billy, Dusty, and Frank just lock in a groove and jam it out. And even though it's got the kind of thinner guitar sonics going on at the time, there's a great jam at the back half of that tune, right when it kicks in. All right. Number three. Oh, wait, no, that was number three. Number two, Liquor from Mescalero, which unfortunately was an era of the band in the early 2000s. That album kind of came out. They had switched labels, I think, again, or it was their last one to
That's the
fulfill
last. That was
RCA.
the last one on RCA. Yeah.
RCA, yeah. It
Yeah.
didn't really get a lot of attention or airplay or promotion. It was
No.
super hard to find when it actually came out. But a great tune, kind of almost an amped up Lagrange,
Yeah.
the way it kicks in. But his tone is killer on that
Yeah.
one. Number two. All right. Number one for runner up. I Gots to Get Paid. Great track. Great track. And it's a shame, it's been 12 years now, right? Or no, 13 years since Left Futura, man. We're due for another album. I hear it's in the works. But solid track. They're always been one to kind of subvert genres and do different weird things. So it's like a rap blues fusion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Based on an obscure Texas rapper
Yeah.
called 21 Lighters, right? The
Yeah.
song. But it's great. So those are my top five, right?
Cool.
Runner-ups, the runner-up.
We've actually got two of them the same, which
Yeah.
is yeah, two of them are the same. Yeah.
All right, man.
Okay, so my runners up is one of the same ones. I said, hey, snappy khaki.
Come on, really? No
Yeah,
way.
yeah, love it. I love it. It's
Wow, man. Nobody knows that
it's
song. That's
it's
amazing.
it's I get a lot of ZZ Top songs, and I don't say this in a novelty way. I get a kick out of them. I just think that there's a humor and there's a like who does that? Who calls a song snappy khaki? It makes no sense.
And I Googled it too to see if it means anything, and I couldn't find anything. It's just gibberish, right?
No. But yeah, this is actually a really cool album. It's got such a weird production on it, but I could have gone with a lot of songs. You know what? There's different songs there I could have gone with, but yeah, Snappy Khaki's always been one
Amazing.
that
All
I've
right,
liked.
dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Next one, it's a it's a standby. I got to go with Tush. This is a song that I used to hear on the radio a lot, and I'm going to say when I first started really listening to top 40 radio, so like from 85, 86, 87, like that, before I realized who it was, because again, I didn't know that was Easy Top. I didn't realize that was Easy Top because I mean it's Dusty singing, right? I hadn't heard all I had heard are songs that Billy sang. It's a little bit like when I got into Kiss, I used to think Paul Stanley sang everything because all of the 80s
That's
singles
right.
and videos were Paul Stanley. I didn't know Gene Simmons sang, just to say
Yeah.
nothing of the other guys. But I realize now when I look back, I realize now why I used to hear it so much and why I used to hear it so much when I did. I'd hear it at the end of an hour or leading up to a newscast. And now I understand because I work in radio, they needed a short little like 2 minute song
It's
to
like
get them up.
258 or something, right?
It's like if you hear that a lot, or We Are the Champion, or not We Are the Champions, We Will Rock You, or Lady Madonna by the Beatles, or Traveling Band by CCR, or up here in Canada, these Dreamboat Annie by Heart, they need a 2 minute song. There aren't
That's
a
right.
lot of them. There
That's
aren't
right.
really a lot of well-known ones. So yeah, Tush used to hear all the time. And it's the one ZZ Top song that I have played when I used to play drums, and that was such a fun song to do.
Awesome, man. So, and this is so again, we could have a top 10 of just Dusty
Yeah.
vocals, right? But so as a drummer, man, what are your thoughts on Frank Beard?
I mean, back then I wasn't playing it correctly. I was doing the big, I was trying, I was playing it like a big, heavy shuffle thing. But Frank's very understated, and it's the way that he does those shuffles and drags his stick.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how I've never taken lessons, so I'm not sure. Like there's a real you could do a really bad version of ZZ Top songs if you don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing on the
Yeah.
drums. So
No,
yeah,
you're so right, man.
I like his it's is that understated approach. And Tejas is that whole album. That's a clinic in how to be understated
100%, man.
because it sounds like it always sounds like his bass pedal is just about to come loose, but it never does.
Yes, it's sloppy yet precise. And when
But
he and
it's
Dusty lock, it's like
yeah,
impenetrable, right?
yeah. My next
Amazing.
one's another one you already mentioned. I got to get paid. I quite like this album. I think there's some good stuff on here, but I
Yeah.
got to get paid. I like what's so catchy. It's so effortlessly catchy, and it's funny because my wife and I were watching a documentary. We like music documentaries regardless of who they're on, but we watched a documentary on the history. It was like history of hip hop, but they were focusing on like from the South, and they actually played a little bit of that 21 Lighters song. I'm like, oh.
Oh,
I recognize. I know what. Okay, I now it makes sense. Now I know what they're talking about because, but you really wouldn't know. It just sounds like a great ZZ Top song,
yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And I love the riffs in it, and all the like, just down, 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 down. Like it
Yeah. And it just
just
sounds so big. Like there's a bigness
yeah,
to three
yeah,
guys, right?
yeah,
Yeah. And to me, Billy, his tone has gotten better and better, and it continues. Like in my
yeah.
opinion, man, I think he's the king of guitar tones.
It's definitely one of the most recognizable, like the world over. Even on their biggest of hits, it doesn't sound like anybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that that really gritty, dirty, heavy tone began on this album,
Yeah.
which is this is an overlooked album with me from
100% came out
1996, and I'm going,
100%.
yeah, I'm going with one of the singles from it. What's up with that? I mean, I could have picked just about anything from this album because it's all good, but I went with What's Up with That. But yeah, he discovered this almost baritone, like somewhere in between a standard guitar and a bass. Like it's low
Yeah.
end and it's
Yep.
dirty and gritty and it's just a great. It just fits their sound
Well, they said they
so
detuned or
well.
Billy detuned that the strings are almost like just noodles hanging there, right? And
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like to get that low a pitch. Yeah, I just picture them just hitting the note and
yeah.
them just like dangling,
And at that
barely.
time, if there's any gearheads who listen to your program, he had discovered this really obscure silver guitar pedal called the Bisonic Expandora, which you can only get in Japan, and it had a dip switch that if you turned it on, it almost blew up your cabinet. But he had three of them stitched together, and he still has those on stage today. And he has this thing called the Tone Dog. It looks like a totem pole of guitar pedals. That's where that tone kind of really there's some serious guitar tones on that album. And that's a great pick because there's a blues in the middle of that heavy tune. There's a beautiful blues
Yeah.
solo in the middle, right?
Um, doesn't that just sound like a piece of gear Billy Gibbons would use? The
100%.
Byzantics, Japandora, like that just sounds like something he would, you know,
Yeah.
either call it himself or just get it because
Yeah.
that's what it was called. But yeah, he's a tone chaser, total tone chaser. A lot of
Yeah.
people talk about Eddie being a tone chaser, and he was, but Billy would find a tone and use it in the best possible way and write songs around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's continued to evolve. Like he continue even if you see him now on his own solo tours with the BFGs and his tone still continues, to
yeah,
evolve in his
and
dirty way.
yet you know instantly it's him,
Yeah.
and that's such a cool thing.
Well, because he's the
And
king of the pinch harmonics, right?
oh
Which
yeah,
are hard to master, but if you have, if you get to learn and study him, like he doesn't play a ton of notes. And the pinch harmonics, because what it is when you pinch a harmonic, the way you play it, it takes that note and then rings it an octave above,
yeah,
or no, it's two octaves above.
yeah.
So you're basically doubling all the notes that you know, and he's the king of inserting them, right?
Yeah, and for those that, if you're not a guitar player, but you've heard it a million times in his songs, in the most popular songs, it's that squealing, it's a squeal, and he does it a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
And it's a cool sound, and you have to have your pick just right on the, just to
that's right.
get to make them ring out.
Yeah, Zach
On a
Wild kind of carried the
I
torch
was going to
forward,
say in
right?
a heavier vein, Zach Wild, the late John Sykes used pinch
That's
harmonics a
right.
lot.
Yeah, yeah,
But
good
yeah,
call.
Brian May.
That's
So
right.
yeah, but Billy's are unmistakably his own. And my final honorable mention, it's not. groundbreaking at all, but it is one of the first ZZ Top songs I ever heard. Give Me All Your Lovin'. I mean, to this day,
Classic.
that drum beat comes on, I'm in. That's one of my favorite ZZ of the ZZ Top singles. And it's real quick side note, Darin, and I think you'll agree with me on this. I always used to think because the three big videos from Eliminator got played so much, I always thought that those three songs, so Give Me All Your Love and Sharp Dressed Man and Legs, were about equal in popularity. And that is not the case at all. So Legs was the hit of them all, hit to number 8, I think.
Yep.
Give Me All Your Lovin' only hit 37, and Sharp Dressed Man hit 56, which
Really?
on Billboard, yeah, which my wife and I did an episode earlier this year about the most popular songs of the 80s that did not hit the US top 40, but songs that your average listener would know instantly. It's like, how did Sharp Dressed Man not make the top 40? I
That's so
don't
interesting. I didn't know that.
get
That's
it.
amazing.
But Give Me All Your Lovin', 37?
Wow,
Anyway,
eh?
and real quick aside, I thought this was cool. We used to binge watch shows all the time, and at one point we watched uh, Bones,
That's
and
right.
of course Billy played a version of himself on that. And I remember there was a wedding, and the music they were playing as they walked in. At first, it didn't get me at first because it was like, wedding music you'd hear, but I'm like, that melody sounds familiar, and I realized it's "Give Me All Your Lovin'."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's right. He
So
was he was on that show for a few years, right?
yeah, because one of the characters, I think Angela was her name, she was his daughter on the
Yeah.
show. So he would appear in a few episodes. He didn't have a lot of lines, but he'd just walk on. It's like all of a sudden the set just got way cooler.
That's he's a cool man. I got to tell you, man. He's super
Yeah.
cool.
So those are my honorables. So now we get into number 10.
All
So
right.
yeah, give us Brent's your own, and then we'll
All
start
right.
with
So number
mine.
10 contains the number 9 for Brent. So number 10 is Big Shiny 9 off of La Futura, which is a great track. I struggled with where to put. I tried to get that on my list, but couldn't. But that's a killer
Yeah.
tune. So that's his number 10, Big Shiny 9. My number 10 is Threshold of a Breakdown, which is the bonus, one of two bonus tracks found on La Futura, but only on the Walmart version.
I was going to say that honestly, I don't recognize that
It's
title.
killer. It's killer. And I think I've discussed with you, but I work with Kim Mitchell. I do all his videos and things. And
Yeah.
he's, master guitar player in his own right. So he and I talk tone all the time, and he agrees that Billy has his own spot in the church, in the front pew in the church of tone. Right. So he says that album.
Kim's got a pretty unique tone too.
Yep.
That's a
He
whole
does.
other because I know you work with Kim. That's a whole other story
Well,
that we gotta.
Kim
Yeah,
and ZZ Top share Joe Hardy as
Joe
their
Hardy.
engineer,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, the late
Uh,
Joe Hardy.
so they both shared this kind of in joke between them. There's a technique I guess they pioneered. You kind of nailed it. It came out. It started on Rhythmine '96. It's called phrasing, FAR, of course, ZZING, where they would take the guitar track when it was on analog, pull out the tape, crumple it all up, feed it back in, and use that as the take. So it adds this kind of crunchy, crackly type of tone. So they would
Wow.
sneak these type of things on their albums and discuss it. It's called phrasing.
And
So
can you do that? Is that possible to do digitally now?
I'm sure you can try to replicate it,
Yeah.
but I guess then if you did it digitally, you'd have you'd want to go back in and maybe tweak it a bit, but you can't once you do it analog, right? You just crumple it up
Yeah.
and feed it back in. So they had this technique called phrasing as they talk tone, right? So
Like who else would think that that would be a good idea?
which is Billy Gibbons,
Because
I guess, right?
you're damaging your recording, but
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah.
You're making it better.
Well, we're also talking about a guy who uses car door slams as percussion on
Yeah.
Afterburner, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you just some of these guys, they're just wired differently. They think differently. They found found sound. They find music where no one else could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Tone explorers. All right. So are you putting yours next? Are you
Yeah,
gonna do
so my
yours?
number 10. Yeah, my number 10 is from like I said, I explored the one of the first things I got after getting the greatest hits from '92 is the much maligned ZZ Top six pack, which you can say what you want about the drum sounds. It introduced me to a lot of songs I'd never heard before. And it was, again, I was in Columbia House and I think all their box sets were half price. So it was a great way for me to get albums I'd never
All
that
of
I
them,
didn't
all right.
have. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically all of them. Yeah. And I think that I ended up getting Degueo at the same time just to because it was out on its own, just to say, yeah, okay, I'll get that one too. So the ZZ Top six pack, for those that don't know, came out in 1987, and it's three CDs. There's two albums on each CD, so you get like one, two, three, four, five, and seven. Because for some reason they put DeGueo out on CD, but they didn't put El Loco out, which this is the early days of CDs where things were not in the right order. But anyway, uh, but one of the best albums, and I knew this was generally considered to be one of the best albums anyway, Tres Hombres. I've got the
Yeah.
2006 remaster here, I think. But I'm
Yeah.
going with, I couldn't, this was a song that really struck me for how heavy it was, especially for its time. Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers.
It's
I
awesome.
mean, dun, 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 dun. I'm like,
Yep.
that's just a heavy riff. And
Yep.
it's not even blues, really. I mean, once it gets going, you get the ZZ Top. But I mean, when that first starts, that's a heavy riff, and it's just a great song.
Yep.
Um, and I like how Billy and Dusty trade off the vocals, and yeah, it's
And then there's a great jam at the end, right? The outro
great
is this
jam,
long jam, right?
absolutely great jam at the end. So yeah, that's my number 10, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers.
Classic, man. Classic. All right. So number 9 for Brent is Bad Girl from Eliminator, which is another great song, right? And it's Billy Gibbons is a huge fan of Depeche Mode
Yeah,
uh, because of the heaviness of the sound. It's so big and heavy, and there's kind of that. It's kind of present, or it kind of begins. I mean, they take it farther to the extreme on Afterburner, but there is that element of heavy bass and heavy bass
yeah,
sound that starts on Eliminator, and Bad Girl is a great example of that.
yeah. Well, those synth pads just fill out
Yeah,
the spectrum, the
it's awesome.
sonics.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so that's Brent's Bad Girl. My number 9 is She's Just Killing Me from the
Oh,
soundtrack of
yeah.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep.
But the version that appears on the soundtrack is just slightly different than the one that's on Rhythm Mean. And it's a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit
right.
rougher, a little more demo-y sounding. I think the vocals are a little bit rougher and there's some solos that are a little bit alternate takes. So I think they cleaned it up after the soundtrack to release on Rhythm Mean. But there's an extra rawness on that tune that's just killer.
Yeah, that's a great song. Great song. Yeah. So my next one is fairly straightforward. I already talked about it. Sharp Dressed Man. I mean, how can you how can you go wrong? It's and they created an expression. Just like the Eagles did with Life in the Fast Lane.
Yep.
Every girl crazy but a sharp dressed man. I mean, that's how many times I don't know how many weddings I've been to where, the guys all joke about that before,
Yep.
they're looking at themselves in the
Yep.
mirror and it's just, but
I was gonna,
it's a great song.
I was gonna say it's about as integral to a wedding as the bride.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be looking sharp, man.
And there's a
Looking
great,
sharp.
he plays, Billy doesn't play slide often, but a lot of that guitar solo is slide, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
That's a killer track. Great track. Awesome.
So
All
number
right.
8.
Number 8. Okay, Brent's is we've talked about this one, but it's a classic. Give me all your lovin'. And
Yep.
again, as soon as you hear those first drum fills, you know who it is and what it is right off the bat.
Yeah.
Great tune. My number 8 is Nasty Dogs and Funky Kings, but not off of Fandango.
Oh,
There is a very rare CD single of What's Up With That. And on I guess it would be the B side of it, is a live version of them in some weird, dingy Texas club with like 50 people. And it's just slamming. So, and also, for those who don't know the 70s era of ZZ Top, Billy's guitar tone is not overdriven like it is in the 80s and beyond. But when the recording of this one is right during that Bisonic Expandora
yeah.
phase, and it is heavy as hell. And that jam at the end is awesome. Probably one of the best jams, in my opinion.
I got to look for that because that's a great song on
Yeah.
Fandango. It's one of the studio tracks,
Yeah,
and yeah,
it's great.
I got to look for that.
So that's a great tune. Yeah, it's hard to find. I have not seen it on Spotify or any of ZZ's releases since, but I do have the CD single somewhere here.
Cool.
That's great.
So my number eight was a single, and I remember seeing this video on Much Music all the time. Uh, and you don't think of ZZ Top that much for a band that did a lot of ballads, but when they did, they were really good. I'm talking about Rough Boy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just a great song. It's a great vocal from Billy and all those guitar licks. Oh,
Yeah.
they're so and I love that it's one of those songs that radio, they play it out. It's not one because, the vocals end at a certain point, and I'd say what, the last at least
Yeah.
2 minutes of the track
Yeah. Yep.
is lead guitar. It's kind of like Who's Crying Now by Journey. Nobody
Yeah.
stops that track when they let the solo play, which is great. But
Yep.
that video where they, it's like the spaceship docks and they clean it, and then like there's the woman's legs, but it's only like half. And then
Great video.
you just see their faces, like, and Billy, and it shows Billy playing this really weird. You know what that is? He's playing that really weird looking guitar.
It's not even a real instrument. It's just a bunch of it's just for art. It's just a bunch of Star Wars spaceship pieces thrown together with a guitar neck on it.
Oh yeah, it's just so iconic, and I just remember here it wasn't a big hit. I think it only hit like 21, which surprised me
Wait,
when
I
I
can't
thought,
believe that either,
yeah,
right? That's
I thought it was a bigger hit than that, but it certainly got a lot of play. So yeah, that's my number eight, Rough Boy.
I think you said, they play that out. I mean, and what's the song that you mentioned that you feel it's similar to?
Who's Crying Now by Journey, because
Okay.
it's got that great Neil Sean
So
guitar
that
solo,
one
and they just
plus what's the song that Rod Stewart does with Jeff Beck around the same time, 86? Slow Train to Cumbers.
people get ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people get ready.
yeah,
People, so
good
that
idea. Good
that and
good
Rough
comparison.
Boy are
Yeah,
my three songs that I could hear on repeat probably forever.
yeah,
Right? They're great,
yeah,
great tunes, right? So yeah, Rough Boy's awesome.
yeah.
Uh okay, so where are we? Seven?
Yes.
All right, number seven for Bo-host Brent is, and we talked about this one, the classic, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers.
Yeah.
Great track. Great track. And this, again, killer jams. I love after when they go into the outro, a lot of, they kind of get nailed as the band that always does the fade out. But it's because their jams just keep going and they always lock into some sort of prime, the prime rhythm or the chorus riff and then just jam that out for the end, right?
Yeah.
Great song. All right, so my number seven is again almost matching the same thing I just said, but it's Backdoor Love Affair,
Yeah. Yeah.
which to me, in my opinion, I wish the ending was about 30 seconds longer, the outro, but that jam in my mind could be their best jam as a trio. So Backdoor Love Affair, number
Good
seven.
stuff. My next one, we're gonna go back to Tres Hombres. It is the opening track, "Waiting for the Bus." When I first heard that, I'm like, "This is why is it taking me so long to hear these albums?" Because it's so cool. I like the Frank's drum part where it's tricky because it's like the snare bass, then the hi-hat, before it gets started. But it just grooves once it kicks in. I mean, and if you want to call Waiting for the Bus and Jesus Just Left Chicago as one song, you
I'm
can,
just about to ask you
because you
that, right?
usually don't hear one without the other. But yeah, wait, I mean, I've again an expression. It's like anytime I hear somebody say "Have mercy," I just feel like I've been waiting for the bus all day.
Yep.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic stuff. So that's my number seven.
And you're right, man. So good call, trying to sneak an extra one in there with Jesus, right? Good work.
Well,
But
it's like Led Zeppelin, "Live and Love," Heartbreaker, "Live and Love and Made," or they kind of have to go together.
yeah. And apparently that was a mistake in the studio where they just kind of spliced it that way. And that's
Yeah,
how,
I mean, yeah, because I mean, it's not on any beat.
yeah. Which,
It's like,
so, and you picked it up, man, because a drummer, in the band I was in, we did those songs. You got to put them together because everyone's expecting it. And
yeah,
it does take some practice to get that slight pause before you go into Jesus, right?
yeah, it's not on a beat.
Great pick, man. That's a great pick. All right. So we are at six. So Bo-host Brent has, there you go, Waiting for the Bus.
Yeah,
You guys are tied there. There you go. We're almost tied. So Waiting for the Bus, classic song. So I guess we have to include Jesus with
Jesus
him
Just
too,
Left
right?
Chicago. Yeah,
Okay, awesome. So number six for me is one of one of their greatest riffs is "Just Got Paid."
Mm-hmm.
And the part, I think this one wins the award in the ZZ Top canon for song with the best dynamics when they get really quiet in the middle there.
Yeah.
It comes to a stop, and then the main riff kicks out again at full blast. That's when the crowd always loses their mind when they play that tune, right?
Yeah.
And Billy milks that pause when you see them live. If you haven't seen them, everybody who's listening, Billy milks that pause and actually comes to a stop. And him and Dusty would get together and play with their beards and milk that pause right for as long as they can, and then they go right
Yeah.
back into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Just Got Paid, number 6.
Okay, so now that's my number 6 is Darin had some shades on when we started all this whole thing, and uh it's time to put on them cheap sunglasses.
Great,
uh, you
great
know,
track.
this is a fantastic album. I mean, I don't even know. I could have picked a lot of them. I actually almost went with Manic Mechanic, but
Oh,
I had to go with cheap sunglasses because we talked about this before about them not having videos. But sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I will look for that 1980 Rock Palace to see Frank use that early sample, that little thin little snare drum when they do the down da down boo boo boo. It cracks
yep,
me up every time,
yep,
because it's like it's an early example of these guys. Okay, well, we did this in the studio. How are we going to do this live? And so it doesn't exactly. It's because on the studio it's more like woo, like it's more
yeah,
of a,
yeah.
but it's got that boo boo.
That's right. That's right.
If you don't know what I mean, folks, you look up ZZ Top, Cheap Sunglasses, 1980. It's probably one of the first clips that'll come up. But it's a great song. I love how it almost it almost grinds to a halt at the end. It's like dun dun.
Yeah,
Um,
which is
and
hard to do, right? That's hard to
you
play
got
it
to
like that.
look at each
Yeah,
other,
it's
right?
100%.
Because
It's eye
yeah,
contact, 100%.
you can't put that onto a grid, man.
No, no, it's
So
great. And the
that's
riff almost introverts itself after the third chorus. The main riff kind of inverts on the outro. It's
yes,
so it's
yeah.
a little trick that's hard. You just have to listen to make sure, but it does do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. I mean, it sounds simple, and you're right. It's a lot easier than trying to learn Van Halen tunes, but it is tricky. There's a
Simplexity,
lot
man.
of it's a
Simplexity.
complexity. I like that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
Great,
it
great
is.
pick, man. Great pick.
Yeah. All right, now we're into the top five.
Top 5. Okay. All right. Number 5. So Bo-host Brent we talked about this one, another classic, Tush.
Yeah.
Great song. Written in the
I
back
mean,
on the way to Texas in the back of a car in what, like 2 minutes, I guess?
almost
Apparently.
as long to write it as it plays.
Exactly. And, a
Yeah.
great vocal by Dusty, right?
Yep.
Rest in peace, man. I miss Dusty.
Yeah.
What a great voice, right?
Yep.
And his tone came because he had a busted finger he had no tip of a finger. I guess
Oh,
a football injury or something where his
kind of
finger,
like Tony Iommi a little bit.
yeah, 100%. So his
Yeah.
finger, if you saw it, he called it the tub thumper or whatever, and it was just kind of down to a nub, and that kind of gives him the extra kind of tone that he has, right?
It would. Yeah.
But a
It'd be a
great vocal.
thicker. Yeah.
Great vocal. All right, so Tush for Brent, and for me, I'm gonna bring it back to drums, my friend. Probably in my opinion, one of Frank's best. Bedroom Thang from the
Yeah.
first album.
Yeah.
That drum track around 3:30 when it turns around and Billy does a little lick, and then the whole thing takes it to the next level. That drum apparently took Frank like 5 or 6 takes to get that right, but that groove is just sick. Like the way they three of them lock, killer tune, and no one talks about that song. It's a killer tune.
Nobody talks about this album because
Yeah,
I never hear any songs from this on the radio, and people need to check this out. I mean, Brown Sugar, Neighbor Neighbor, Squank.
yep,
I like saying that. Backdoor Love Affair. You're absolutely right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is Certified Blues on that too? No, is
Yes.
it?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. Track 7. Yeah.
Oh, see, I had a hard time. It could have been that one. That's
Yeah.
that's the thing, man. And they just re-released that on vinyl, and then there's a new box set. You probably saw that come out, I think, this
Yeah.
week, which it probably sounds amazing now, right?
See, I can't. I don't have any of the first 3 on vinyl, so that might be how I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're awesome. All right, Bedroom Thing, number
Okay.
5.
Okay, so my number 5 is from an album that I find myself, if I don't know what to listen to by ZZ Top, I'll put this on because even if I find out it's not really what I want to listen to, it's a short little thing, but I like it because it's so quirky. I'm talking about El Loco from 1981, and the song is 10 Foot Pole. I haven't the slightest clue. Now just around. I have
Ap-
no idea what the lyrics are, except I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But
Apparently, it's about the abominable snowman. If you ask Billy,
of course it is. Of
yeah,
course it is.
great
Uh,
pick, man. Great
but
pick.
yeah, I mean, it just has such a cool groove to it, and I love that clean guitar, the clean guitar sound on most of this record.
Yeah, I'm going to come back and reference that in a few minutes, but that's a
Yeah,
killer pick. And I almost thought you were going to say because you said quirky and strange. I thought you were going to pick groovy little hippie pad, which is almost like Manic Mechanic. It's just bizarre, right?
I like that one too. And my understanding, and you can confirm this, I read that he wrote that after seeing a Devo sound check.
I'm telling you, these guys are kind of like they love other. You think they're just blues guys, but
Yeah,
they have a
no,
deep love of all kinds of music, right?
I even like the. I mean, it's less a song, but I even like that. What is the order that they're? Yeah, Heaven, Hell, or Houston. I mean, hello, darling.
Yeah,
Glad you asked. Like
yeah.
that.
And
But
again,
that
it's like
little,
another Manic Mechanic, right? Where he's
but
kind
that
of his
dun, dun, dun,
persona.
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
yeah. Strange, right? You can see
Yeah.
shades of Eliminator coming on that album, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it starts on DeGueo, but it really kicks in on
Yeah.
the technology on El Loco.
Great pick, man. I'm so happy you picked 10 foot pole, and I'll explain it in a few minutes. All right. All right. So we are at three? No, four. Four.
Four.
Four. Okay. So Bo-host Brent. I'm going to bust out the shades again, but cheap sunglasses. And their version at Rock Blast is awesome when they just bang that out, right? You're right.
Oh yeah.
Is that the only time they use that kind of strange synth
That's
thing that
the
you
only
mentioned?
clip of it I've seen, but they probably used it on tour.
Yeah. But no other songs, right? It's kind of a part
I
of that
don't
song now,
think
right?
so. Yeah, I think it's limited to that.
Yeah. It's almost like Pink Floyd in a way. It's like their Pink Floyd song.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Bizarre. Okay, great tune. All right. So for me, really, really deep track. And this one to me is like their Depeche Mode. And it's just, well, it is the title. It's badass. Thug from Eliminator.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. That's you cranked out, and the remastered version was just so big. It's pretty sparse in terms of guitar. It's just rhythmic drums that put you in a trance, and Billy does a bass solo, right, in it.
Yeah.
But it's just badass. He talks about gangsters robbing a bank in the 1930s, and he's the getaway man, right? It's a great, great track.
Awesome.
All right, number four.
So my number four, I was blown away when I first heard this song. I think it's got an excellent riff. I love Frank's drum track on it. Heard it on the X
Oh, dude,
from
there's so
Fandango. Yeah,
so
like
many. There's so many to pick.
it's so good. I love the lyrics. And it's another trade-off vocal song with Dusty and Billy, but and it comes back around just enough. You want to hear it more, but you never get sick of it. But
Oh,
yeah, it's just a great song. And it's funny because I I don't think they're talking about the exact same radio station, but I've heard David Lee Roth talk about listening to a station in Mexico that started with X, and
that
it
no,
came.
that's it. That is it.
Yeah, so it's the same one, yeah.
Yep, that's
And
it. Yep.
also the cool thing is that I'm sure you know this is that Van Halen in their early days they would play Waiting for the Bus. They played a few
Beer
ZZ Top
drinkers.
songs,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So oh man, like to have well-recorded versions of some of those live Van Halen covers,
Oh,
like Man on the Silver Mountain, and
yeah, man.
anyway, that's another
But
story. But
but great point because when Eddie plays those ZZ songs, he's at full distortion and they sound great. Like I would love to hear those, you know, if they
with
could
the
re-record
rhythmine
them.
treatment,
Yeah, all these
yeah,
70s with like if you
yeah,
take $10 Man or El Diablo, but add
but
on the Eddie Van Halen,
they're heavy.
they're
Like
they're crazy.
they're structurally heavy. They just weren't
Yeah.
recorded that way.
It's
Yeah,
like metal but slow. It's like sludgy. But
yeah.
in I think 2001 there was a WWE wrestling obscure soundtrack that came out, and on it, it's not. I don't think it's Pantera, but it's Dimebag Daryl, who's a huge ZZ Top fan, on it playing "Heard It on the X."
I
Have you
was
heard
gonna
that
say
version?
I knew somebody covered that, and I also knew. I mean, it makes sense. They're from Texas, right? But and I think like a band like Pantera or Dimebag being into them must have been great for people going, huh? ZZ Top, huh? It's I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's like when I got into Queen in the early '90s in a huge way, but I'd always hear bands that I liked, Def Leppard and Metallica and all these bands are talking about how great Queen was, and I'm thinking another one bites the dust and Radio Gaga, and I'm like, I'm not hearing the right songs. I don't get it. Same thing with ZZ Top. It's like, really? Like legs and I mean, it's good, but I don't. But now I understand hearing that 70s stuff. No wonder they influenced so many metal bands. They have
Yeah.
metal songs, they just weren't recorded heavy.
Yep. Yep.
So it totally makes sense.
Totally agree. Awesome pick, man. That's a great pick. Again, like almost all the ones you're saying, I'm like, God, how did I miss that? Right. All right. So we are at number three. All right. So for Brent, another heavy one. Yeah, this is one of the. I think it's a mainstay opener since its release. Got Me Under Pressure.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
Great opener, great way to kick off their set. But that's another classic from Eliminator. That didn't chart at all, did it?
It charted on mainstream rock and it still gets a lot of airplay.
Yeah,
So it's like the hit that wasn't. I
but
still
no
hear it.
video, right? No video.
No, no, I think the only other video is TV
TV
dinners.
dinners. So why? Why? What a bad
I
video.
love the early days of video because there was just no rhyme or reason. They'd shoot videos for songs that weren't even singles, and they wouldn't shoot videos for songs that were. So
Bizarre, right? And from a band that has three or more, but there's the three trilogy classic rock videos.
yeah, people
There's
forget. There's actually a
TV
fourth one
dinners
from
is part of
Eliminator.
that. No one talks
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
Awesome. All right, so got me under pressure for Bo-host Brent. For
yeah.
me, we talked about it, man, and this could easily be these top three now could almost be slide into number one on any given day. It's got to be Rough Boy. Uh,
That's great. It's
his
fantastic.
tone, his
Yeah,
tone, it could be one of the greatest slow burner songs I think ever recorded.
yeah,
His tone is great. His licks are great. He had that Rockman sound in the '80s that he kind of
yeah,
blended into his sound.
yeah,
Just a great song, man. Just a great
yeah.
that people that album did phenomenally well for them after Eliminator, but it kind of gets a lot of fans call it techno top because it went two steps farther into the dance grooves, right?
It's very
Yeah,
techno for sure.
yeah.
But that's a great song.
But
That's
Rough Boy is great, man. It's an
yeah,
awesome. And if you look at the watch the Texas live in Texas 2008 Blu-ray, phenomenal version on that one, right? All right,
cool.
that's number
So
three.
so
Number three.
number three, yeah. Um, So this song's been mentioned already, and this was another one that when I heard it on the six pack, I'm like, that's the coolest riff I've heard in a long time. Just got paid. I mean, come on. It's
Yeah,
I think I'm not sure, but a band that I've gotten more and more into as the years have gone by is Fleetwood Mac, specifically the early years of Fleetwood Mac, the blues stuff with Peter Green.
yeah.
When I hear "Oh Well,"
Oh, dude. Oh, God.
I think that "Just Got Paid" was Billy's homage to that riff because it's very similar in terms of the notes,
Yeah,
but
man.
it's also similar in that it's really hard to play correctly.
Yeah,
So,
dude, okay.
but
That's why you got a show, man. That's why I love your show because for the listeners, Billy covers that song on a Fleetwood Mac tribute from like what 2012 or something,
yeah, I mean, a
2011.
lot of people have covered it. It's one of those songs that you hear once in a while on
It's
classic
awesome.
rock radio, and if they don't back sell it, you might, who sings that? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't sound a thing like what you'd expect in Fleetwood Mac. I
No.
know that the Black Crowes did it on the album they did with Jimmy Page. It's on
Yeah.
there.
You're right. It's hard to play though, man.
There was Slash just recently did a version of it. I want to say it's from a soundtrack. I could be wrong. Deep Purple did a version of it a few years
Yeah.
back on their covers album, but it's a little down,
Yeah.
it's perfect for Billy's style. It just
Yeah. It
perfectly makes
sounds
it.
dark and just sounds epic, right?
Yeah.
You got to seek
Um,
that out.
but when I heard Just Got Paid first. And then when I heard Oh Well, I'm like, I hear where Just
Yeah.
Got Paid came from.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though they're totally different songs, I hear him being, just giving that little nod
Yeah.
to the
I
Peter
would
Green
say, I mean,
era.
this is a little bit of a sidebar, but I'm sure you've heard Francine. I mean, I think the Rolling
Oh yeah.
Stones want that back, right?
Oh my goodness, that is so Stonesy sounding.
No. And that's
E-
ironically, they opened for the Stones on
yeah.
that album, on that tour.
Especially at the end, the woo.
I was just gonna say, is that what got Keith Richards? Because Keith chose them to open for them, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, did he hear that and be like, let's bring these guys in?
And did he not? I think uh did Keith not induct them into the Rock and Roll Hall
He,
of
he
Fame?
did. He
So
did.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Very
Full
cool, man.
circle.
Awesome.
Okay. Number two.
All right. So for Bo-host Brent, we have I Gots to Get Paid.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's a great song, right? And you blast that in your car, you just sound like a gangster, right?
Yeah.
Right? Gangster. Great song. I do hope they have another album. I hear it's in the
Yeah,
works, and
me
there's some
too.
dusty
Me too.
stuff that they have lying around that might be on it as well. But all
Awesome.
right, number two. So look, I had Breakaway in here, and I took it out last minute.
That's good. That's
Uh,
good. It's a good
to me,
song.
that could almost be their second runner-up, slow burner to Rough Boy.
It's similar. Yeah, similar
Yeah,
tempo. Yeah.
but I have to go Legs, but not the one that kind of came out for the video. The one that's on the album version.
Yeah, it's different. Different mix.
Yeah, well, there's a
Yep.
different what do you call that in the background that's triggered through it, right?
Yes.
Synthesizer,
Sequencer. Yeah.
sequencer. Yes,
Sequencer. Yeah.
it's not so obtrusive. I think the one for the
Right.
video is just too obtrusive. You can't really hear the guitar.
Yeah. It's for
So I like,
maximum pop appeal for sure.
yeah. So if you listen to the one from the original album and the remaster version of that sounds awesome, right? It
Yeah.
just sounds so. And I have to say, I think Billy's guitar tone doesn't get any dirtier and original than on Legs. I think
I mean,
his
even
tone is
yeah, even
awesome.
on their biggest hit single, it's still it's
Yeah.
still it's easy top through and through. There's
And
no
for any guitar players out there, like you, it's very sparse guitar, right? Very tasty choices of notes and not a lot going on, but it is just a banger. And his tone is killer. And it sounds like if you know there's only a couple notes he's playing, it sounds huge, right?
yeah,
That's how
yeah,
beefy his tone is, right? So
yeah.
Legs all the way.
Deceptively so. Yeah.
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 All right.
Okay, so my number two, I loved this song when it came out. I didn't get into the band for a few more years, but I love the fact that because I was not a grunge and alternative guy, I never was. And this was a song that was getting a lot of airplay in an era where a lot of classic bands were just swept off to the side. I remember seeing this video a lot. It's a cool video. I'm talking about Pincushion um, from Antenna, a great album. And really, I think it's the only one of the RCA albums that's certified, but it's a great album. And I
Yeah.
could have gone with a lot of songs. I love Antenna Head. I love World of Swirl,
Oh, dude.
Lizard Life. I mean, but Pincushion is just effortlessly catchy. Um, yeah, it's just classic ZZ Top, and it wasn't a big pop single. I think it was a number one mainstream rock hit, but it's
Yeah.
always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could talk about just that album because that's the first, like I was already into them at this time, like full throttle. But that's the first time I actually saw them in Toronto. I saw them at Maple Leaf Gardens and George Thorogood opened. And when they came out, I'm finally seeing my idols,
Yeah,
and it's you can find it on YouTube. It's awesome. It's
yeah,
and and you mentioned Antenna Head. I had that floating around my list somewhere.
yeah,
To me, that's like the sequel to Just Got Paid, right?
a little bit. Yeah,
It's got kind of a similar riff, right? But that you're right, solid album, man. Awesome,
yeah.
awesome pick. All right, so we're at
All
number
right,
one. Number one.
number one. Yeah,
Okay, so for Bo-host Brent, he's got legs at number
yeah,
one.
and
Okay,
he knows how to use them.
and he knows. But a bump. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now he doesn't know which version, but I'm assuming he's I mean, probably I think he's a big ZZ Top fan, but I don't know if he's like huge as I am. So he probably picked the one from the video. I bet you. I'm gonna ask him. But there you go. Great number one. Okay, so my number one, you just mentioned it, man. Pincushion.
oh, so good.
You crank that one up on a good system. That
Yeah,
one is a wall of sound.
yeah,
And here's the thing, man. I'm gonna bring this back to the mix. It's 10-foot pole, the riff.
yeah. You said that, and I never noticed that before. And I'm like,
It's
it
pretty
gives it
close, but just
pretty.
heavy, big
Yeah,
guitars, right?
yeah.
And to me, as much as I love Eliminator and Afterburner, I feel the keyboards are a little bit too intrusive into the ZZ Top sound. I feel like they dialed it back just right.
Just
So
enough. Yeah,
just enough to kind of pad out that heaviness in the bottom,
yeah,
sprinkled in. And I think it just makes Pincushion just massive. And it's a fun
yeah,
song to play on guitar. And I think it's a great, composed solo, right?
yeah.
That's my favorite, man. Great. And it's a whole album. The whole album's great.
Cool. So my number one. So this is special to me because I really started listening to Top 40 radio. I'm going to say the end of 1984. I'd always loved music, but so I would have been 10 years old. And that's really when I started listening to the Top 40 radio, paying attention to the songs, who sings what songs, discovering the Top 40 countdowns. And of course, I grew up on the border, so I listened to as much US radio as
Yeah.
Canadian radio. So listening to Casey Kasem and Rick Dees. And though I'd seen, I was familiar with ZZ Top through the Eliminator videos, we didn't have much music until early 86, so it was only here and there that I got to see video shows. Where I'm going with this is that the first ZZ Top song to come out, and when I was an active radio listener, was Sleeping Bag. And it's like I said, it's picking it as my number one because I think it's a fantastic, I'm going to call it a fantastic pop song. I can see why. I think it matched legs. I think they both went to number eight. It's just, I know there's a lot of electronics on it. I mean, it's got the wham, it's got sound effects all over it, but it's it's so cool when it gets into that.
Oh,
I
there's a
don't know.
groove, right? It's even
It's a
with
groove. Even
awesome.
with the keyboard, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun, 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 like it's just so cool. The video is cool. I like the spoken part at the beginning of it, the bedtime story kind of thing. And
yep.
um yeah, there was no question. I didn't really know what my other list would be. I said I got to go with Sleeping Bag. That's just, it's probably the ZZ Top song I've listened to the most. I never ever change the station if it comes on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
that's my
addictive.
number
You're right.
one.
It to me like Pincushion, and that's where I think that Depeche Mode kind of like because
Oh,
it's
it's
just heavy. It just sounds big.
it's a
Right?
very, very thick, bassy
Yeah.
sound without being heavy, distorted guitars all the way through. But yet it was at that time, I'm going to say it was probably one of the heaviest songs on Top 40 radio,
Oh, yeah, man.
just by virtue of it being ZZ Top, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the bass end is, you get Dusty in there, but with those keyboards, and all those syncopated sequencers, it just sounds
yeah.
huge, right? And at the end, there's some tasty guitar licks that are so
I
simple.
like
They're
when
amazing.
I like when it modulates. When it
Yeah,
goes up to D, and like dun, 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 and Billy
yeah,
starts playing those really tasty licks.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Very
If
cool,
you
man.
listen, without looking, I'm just trying to think. I've done a lot of chart episodes, so the end of 1985. Honestly, there were a lot of great songs, but it was a pretty mellow top 10, I would say. If I'm thinking about the other songs that would have been in the top 10 along with Sleeping Bag, I'm thinking you've probably got Mr. Broken Wings,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
Phil Collins, Marilyn Martin, Separate Lives,
yeah.
Lionel Richie, Say You, Say Me, and all of a sudden, like, here comes ZZ Top. Just,
Yeah,
hi guys, we're back.
yeah.
Not in an obtrusive way. Just say we're back, and we're back on the radio. And yeah, so man,
That's
this
funny,
was
man.
great. I have to go listen back and find out how many different songs that we've hit upon, and I think with the possible exception of Recycler and XXX, I think we hit every album at least
And
once.
at one point I had my heads. I mean, you could have had Heads in Mississippi, which is almost like a Lagrange follow up.
Yeah.
And that's from Recycler, and then from X they have Poke Chop Sandwich made into a movie,
Yeah.
or Trippin'. And there's
Yeah.
also a version of Pincushion that's live called Sin Pusher,
That's right. Yeah.
which just
That
sounds pretty awesome too.
um and then there's another song that I thought about doing was Peace from
Yeah,
Mescalero with Bill with
yeah,
Dusty singing. That's a great song.
that's a great overlooked. There's
But
17 songs on that album
that's
too,
a
right?
long album. Yeah.
Some great tunes.
Yeah.
But now that you've said
Cool.
Mescalero, can I throw one more? Can I represent someone else
Go
who's not
for
with
it.
us
Yeah.
today? So my
Yeah.
buddy Kim, as I said, we talk tone and guitar and gears all the time. I said, hey man, I'm gonna be on a ZZ Top show with Tim. Uh, what's your number one ZZ Top? Alligator.
Oh yeah.
Mescalero. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's I mean, it did nothing to the charts. I don't know if anybody ever heard it, but it's
Yeah, no, but Mescalero's a great, and again, it continues that dirty, heavy
yeah.
guitar tone.
But what a
So
random pick, man. I asked him what why that one? Yeah, he hasn't got back to me yet, but he will at some point. But
yeah,
it's a
I'm not.
random check, right?
That's a fan though. Like that's someone that knows, he knows the stuff right inside and out. So, and I'm hardly surprised. Uh, Darin, this has been fantastic. Brent, wherever you are, thank you for sending your list. And this was a lot of fun. Um, Want to hear from you people out there. Comment what songs are favorites of yours that we missed. Do not miss the Bogus Otis show. Go find it. It's all things Sammy Hagar and Van Halen and related. They've had cool guests on. I mean, they've had the man himself. So What
You.
more? Yeah, they've had.
You're right. We
They've
had
had
you.
me. What more do
That's
you
right.
need?
The man
No,
himself.
but but anyway, yeah. Thanks for doing this. I will have a link below to the Bogus Otis podcast, and go listen to some ZZ Top, everybody. Thank you very much for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.